All right, I have to do this at least once, so I'm going to go ahead and get it out of the way. I blame it on the Bonomassa. I have a low EQ, and I blame it on the Bonomassa. I do, in fact, blame this on Joe Bonamassa because I was watching an interview with him, and I think it was on Beato. I think it was Rick Beato. And if I was wrong, forgive me, but I consume a lot of YouTube content. And he was talking about the need for guitarists to have a parametric EQ because they need to be able to tailor their sound to get out of the way of the frequencies of other instruments that are being recorded. And then I was watching Glen Fricker, and he was talking about the very same thing about how guitarists tend to get married to their sound, and this is my tone, man, and they're sticking with it like it's some kind of religious thing. And then when you put it together in a mix with other instruments, it sounds not good. And so there's a need to tailor the sound in order to sound good with other instruments. And so finally I decided, okay, I'm going to break down and I'm going to buy an EQ. And so when I redid the studio, I went ahead and got a passive EQ. But I forgot to turn it on half the time, and I thought, does it really make that much of a difference? And then I was listening to the review and the free play of the Blackstar Carry-On, which were both recorded on the same day, and they were recorded after I developed Tone 1. Listen, see if you can pick it out. What you're hearing is a peak in a low frequency. Now, at first I thought that was just an overall peak, and so I went back and took the master level of the overall recording and dropped it down, which is something that I'm capable of doing. And as it turns out, what I got then was a peak at a lower volume as opposed to not getting a peak. I still got that distortion in the speakers. So I thought, well, maybe it's the studio monitors. These aren't incredibly expensive monitors, so I'll go listen to it in my car. And well, it peaked there too. And so then I went to the Jeep where I actually have the bass turned up louder, and it peaked even worse. So it dawned on me I've got a peak at a frequency, not a peak at an overall recording level, and that can easily be solved by an EQ. Well, I picked one up, and it was not expensive, and I want to show you what kind of difference that can make. We're going to start off with just a basic rumble. This is an unplugged chord. Most of us knows what this sounds like, and we especially know what it sounds like when you do that. Now you can tell when I first kick the EQ on, it does make a difference. But as I start to adjust the frequencies, you can tell where each part of the noise is reduced within the signal. Now the reason that I do that is because as we're recording guitars, basses, drums, whatever, we're making sounds across different frequencies, and sometimes you want to take specific frequencies out. That can depend on the type of distortion you're using, on the type of pickup you're using, or just the overall sound you're going for with the guitar. When I take my finger off, all of a sudden that wide band of noise is gone, but there is still a bit of hum. Using the EQ, I can isolate it and reduce it. Now that doesn't sound like much, but when it's interfering with a mix, it can really override a lot. Listen for a difference when I turn the EQ on and off. The less noise in your original source, the better your recording is going to sound. This is particularly helpful when you switch from guitar to the guitar regularly. Now, you can use a noise gate to shut down noise, but the problem with that is it's still there. So whenever you strike a chord, that noise will still be present in the music that you're trying to record. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to load in a repetitive chord progression into the looper, and then I'm just going to mess with the EQ. This will show you some of the tonal characteristics that can be altered just with a simple $50 purchase. This can be particularly helpful whenever you're trying to come up with a good lead tone. There's a lot of other fun to be had while you're playing around with an EQ. But it is kind of amazing to me what a distinct difference that such a small investment can make. And it really is helpful whenever you're switching. Once, I've got my amp set up and my effects set up and everything the way that I like it. It's really helpful whenever I'm switching from guitar to guitar, because I may be playing something with single coil or humbucking or mini humbucking, and that lets me kind of go from one to the other without having to reset all my amplifiers. And that's particularly that's a particularly good thing whenever you're using the positive grid spark, because that way you don't have to get into it and change a bunch of stuff on the digital menu. You can just adjust it with the EQ. So I know I started off by saying that I would blame it on the Bonamassa, but I have to say, thanks, man. I really appreciate it. Like I've said in many of these before, turns out I knew a lot less than I thought I did. Blame it on the Bonamassa. I can't believe I got that right twice. I've been messing that up for about a half hour. Oh man, if you guys have half as much fun watching these as I do making them, then I'm having twice as much fun as you are.